What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with a hip-hop track, and one I thought of because I did a reaction earlier in this batch with the same title. And yeah, this is by Aesop Rock, an artist I don't know a whole lot about. I know he's sort of in the abstract, conscious vein of hip-hop, meaning it's definitely not like gangster rap, it's more of like a storytelling type of hip hop, or his lyrics are more of a storytelling, socially and culturally conscious type of style. And yes, this is from his 2001 album Labor Days, which I think is his third album. I say that with a bit of a question mark because I remember looking years ago now, and I think his first album was not on a label. It was like, I think either self-produced or at the very least released kind of independent of any label. And then this is the third one in the chronology, though again maybe like the second like formal album. But anyway, this is a tune called No Regrets, and it's a masterclass in storytelling. And I think if I were to introduce Aesop Rock to anyone, this might be the tune that I would do it through. And yeah, there's a cool, I don't know if it's like pizzicato strings. There's like a string style melody, though not like bowed string. It's more like pluck string or something like that. But there is also a bowed string sample, I think, in the background. And I don't think it's actually taken directly from this piece, but the melody of it and the rhythm of it reminds me very much of Promontory from the Last of the Mohicans soundtrack. So that's a bit of an obscure reference. If you know it, you know it. And in fact, I might do a reaction to that in this same batch. I'm quite sure I haven't reacted to that. But yeah, it reminds me very much of the melody that's kind of the main theme of the Last of the Mohicans. In any case, the point is, it's a song about Lucy. And it starts with her childhood, and it goes all the way decades later until her death, does this song. Verse after verse, jumping ahead in time. And at each point along the way, Lucy does things her own way, and her whole life philosophy, even from when she's young, is that she doesn't want to just dream about things, she wants to do it. She wants to live a dream, because she has this attitude that dreaming is something that people do but they haven't actually gotten to yet. And I don't want to be someone who just thinks about doing things. I want to do things. And the whole idea of no regrets is that she wants to live her life in that way, pursuing what she wants, doing what she wants, finishing them, and then walking away with no regrets. And primarily that relates to her art. It talks about how in the beginning of her life, when she's a kid, all the other kids are doing kind of silly things and playing by the fire hydrant and, like jumping around in the water and just kind of being kids. And she's kind of busy focusing on her artwork, using chalk on the sidewalks and drawing pictures all over the sidewalk around the place where she lives. And there's a line, something to the effect that the other kid said, "Hey, you want to go do this?" And she's like, "No, I'm fine, thank you though," and keeps doing her art. And they shrug and go on and do their thing. And then it talks about her being a little bit older, and she, has her own place, and she meets this guy, I think Rico is the name, and the line that Aesop gives is like, and he's kind of similar. He's a hermit, and they only see each other a couple times a week on purpose because they like their space. They like doing their separate things, but they share times and, a relationship. And other people come around the neighborhood, "Hey, you want to go out with us? Or you want to come over? We're having a party," and whatever. And Lucy again says, "No, thank you. I appreciate it, but I'm fine." And she continues working. I think it says like that she's using charcoal brushes and so on to do her art at that time. And then it jumps ahead to when she's older in life, and Rico died a few years back, so now she's in an old assisted living home, and because Rico's already dead and she never made a big point to have other friends, no one comes and visits her, which might sound sad, but no, she's amassed all her artwork. And it says at this point she's changed her brush sticks for arthritis, she's not actually working anymore. But in her room she puts up all her art, and she kind of looks at it and appreciates it. And there's a line near the end, or a series of lines, where she says, or where Aesop Rock says, Lucy pulls over the nurse and said, "Hey, this is what I've done, and I didn't want to just be a dreamer. I wanted to live my dream, because so many people think of what they want to do, they dream about, but they never actually do it. I did everything I wanted since day one. I did it till it's done, and now I have no regrets." And the nurse is like, "Wow, she never talks to anyone, and she just told me kind of this philosophy and so on." And then the nurse pulls the the blinds around her bed, and Lucy dies. And I think the finish is like, this is essentially the perfect articulation of a life philosophy. So again, it's a really cool storytelling track in the conscious hip-hop style. I like the backing vocals. I like his style of delivery. It's very deliberate and matter-of-fact. And yeah, it's just a really cool tune. And as I said, if I were to introduce people, which I guess for some of you I might be doing right now, to Aesop Rock, this is the track I would choose. So let's hear it. This is Aesop Rock. The track is No Regrets from his 2001 album Labor Days.
Yo, ask her. Hey, Lucy, come here. Ask her. Lucy, she's here. Yo, ask her again. How old are you? Let her alone be. Lucy, come here.
Let her alone be.
Lucy, she ain't listening to you. Yo, ask her again. Hey, Lucy, how old are you? Lucy. Lucy was 7 and wore a head of blue barrettes. City born into this world with no knowledge and no regrets. Had a piece of yellow chocolate when she drew up on the street. The many faces of the various locals that she would meet. There was Joshua, age 10, fully up the block, who always took her milk money at the morning bus stop. There was Mrs. Crabtree and her food. She always gave a wave and holler on her weekly trip down to the bingo parlor. And she drew men, women, kids, sunsets, clouds. She drew skyscrapers, food stands, cities, towns. Always said hello to passers-by. They asked her why she passed the time attaching lines of concrete, but she would only smile. Now all the other children living in or near her building ran around like tyrants, soaking up the open fire hydrants. They would say, little Lucy, wanna come jump double dutch? Lucy would pause, look, grin, and say, busy, thank you much. Well, 1 year passed, and believe it or not, she covered every last inch of the entire sidewalk, and she stopped. After all this, you're just giving in today? She said, I'm not giving in, I'm finished. Walked away. 1, 2, 3, that's the speed of the sea. ABC, that's the speed of the D. You can dream a little dreamer, you can live a little dream. I'd rather live it. The dreamers always chase but never get it. 1, 2, 3, that's the speed of the sea. ABC, that's the speed of the D. You can dream a little dreamer, you can live a little dream. I'd rather live it. The dreamers always chase but never get it. Lucy was 37, an introverted somewhat. Basement apartment in the same building she grew up in. She traded in her blue barrettes for long locks, held up with a clip, traded in her yellow chalk for charcoal sticks. She drew little Bobby who would come to sweep the board. And she drew mailman delivered every day at 4. Lucy has very little contact with the folks outside her cubicle day, but found it suitable and she liked it that way. She had a man now, Rico, similar, Herman. They would only see each other once or twice a week on purpose. They appreciated space, and Rico was an artist too, so they'd connect on Saturdays to share the pictures that they drew. Now every month or so she'd get a knock upon the front door, just one of the neighbors. Acting nice, but she was a strange girl, really. Say, Lucy, wanna join me for some lunch? She would smile and say, busy, thank you much. The neighbor make a weird face the second the door shut. Then run and tell her friends how truly crazy Lucy was. And Lucy knew what people thought but didn't care, cause while they spread their rumors through the streets, she made another masterpiece. 1, 2, 3, that's the speed of the sea. ABC, that's the speed of the D. You can dream a little dreamer, you can live a little dream. I'd rather live it. Dreamers always chase but never get it. 1, 2, 3, that's the speed of the sea. ABC, that's the speed of the D. You can dream a little dreamer, you can live a little dream. I'd rather live it. Dreamers always chase but never get it. Lucy was 87, upon a deathbed at the senior home where she had previously checked in. Traded in the locks and clip for a headrest. Traded in the charcoal sticks for arthritis. It had to happen. She drew no more. Just sat and watched the dawn. Had a television in the room that she never turned on. Lucy pinned up a life's worth of pictures on the wall and sat smiling, looked into one over just to laugh at it all. Noriko, he had passed about 5 years back, so the visiting hours pulled in a big flock of nothing. She never spoken much to at the spanning of her life until the day she leaned forward, grinned and pulled the nurse aside and she said, look, I've never had a dream in my life, because a dream is what you want to do but still haven't pursued. I knew what I wanted and did it till it was done, so I've been the dream that I wanted to be since day one. Well, the nurse jumped back. She never heard Lucy even talk, especially words like that. She walked over to the door and pulled it closed behind. And Lucy blew a kiss to each one of her pictures and she died. 1, 2, 3, that's the speed of the sea. ABC, that's the speed of the D. You can dream a little dreamer, you can live a little dream. I'd rather live it, cause dreamers always chase but never get it. 1, 2, 3, that's the speed of the sea. ABC, that's the speed of the D. You can dream a little dreamer, you can live a little dream. I'd rather live it, cause dreamers always chase but never get it. 1, 2, 3, ABC. 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 Like that.
feel like it's a contrabass and then a pizzicato violin or two. But yeah, again, I love it. I love the different chapters of Lucy's story. I love the way, she's never rude. She's just like, the kids, like, no, you can go play jump rope. I'm doing what I'd like to do, and then I'm done, and I'm going to walk away from it. And then, when she's in her 30s, it's, like the neighbors come over, hey, you want to go out to lunch? Like, no, that's okay. I'm doing what I like to do. Thank you. And then, the door closes and they're like, God, she's so weird. And, the suggestion, she knows what other people think about her, but she doesn't really care because she's doing what she wants to do. And again, this idea that Rico, they only hang out a couple times a week. They share the pictures they drew. They have the relationship that, like, they want to have, which is one which is a bit less intense, or, it's not like they live in the same place and so on. And then later, when she's old, she's not sad. She doesn't regret, oh, I wish I had, other people who were come visiting me. She puts her life's work around her, kisses every one of her paintings, and then she dies. And, she lived a life fulfilled, even if it's one that was off the beaten path and different than what a lot of people consider to be, the right path in life, or the way you should interact with other people. So I love that. I love that phrase, like, whoa, the nurse jumped back. She never heard Lucy talk, much less words like that. I love the phrasing. And again, he's got a good writing style, and his delivery. Again, it's sort of low key, but it's direct, and I enjoy the way, we get this storytelling style. So again, there's some other really good tunes by him. I'm trying to remember, there's a name of one. Or there's a name of one. There's one, Daylight, right? And then I think he did like a remix of it, or like a different version called Nightlight. But Daylight is another notable track, so I may do that. I think he did also do a track with Del the Funky Homo Sapien, one of my favorites. I think it's called Preservation. So yeah, we might do some more Aesop Rock, but as I said, I did a reaction to another song called No Regrets, and I couldn't help but think of this, and I figured this would be a cool one to do. So shout out to anyone who checked this out. As I mentioned, I may do a reaction to Promontory in the Last of the Mohicans soundtrack, because that backing violin line, even though here it feels like it's just a piece of it, it's not like the longer stretch of the Promontory melody, and I don't think it's actually sampled from that track, because it sounds here like it's on a kind of like a rickety old violin. It's not like, very rich like it is in the Last of the Mohicans soundtrack, but I do think there might be some connection there melodically. In any case, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.